Well, let's get some analysis now with Luigi Daniele in London. He's a senior lecturer in international humanitarian and international criminal law at Nottingham Trent University. Luigi, good to have you on this news hour. Now, this is the fifth day of what we've heard over several days, and most of the countries and organizations have presented very much the same case and the same facts, besides the US and Hungary. However, the US and Hungary even said Israel should provide humanitarian aid to Palestinians. What we've seen so far, is this what you would have expected to see from all the countries involved?
I would have expected such clarity because the law on the matter is very clear, inoppugnably so. And in fact, if you bring together the puzzle of the various specialized branches of international law, they all converge toward the special duties of occupying powers to safeguard the population in the territory they occupy. Israel is doing the exact opposite. Not only it is not allowing any international investigator, third and impartial, in, not only is not allowing foreign press in, but it is also denying systematically permits to international organizations, UN specialized agencies, and relief NGOs. So, per se, this picture is a picture of systematic commission of a very clear war crime in the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, the other court in The Hague, which is the intentional use of starvation as a weapon of war and the denial of relief supplies indispensable for the survival of the civilian population.
If the law is very clear, what final ruling do you then expect to come from the ICJ?
I expect another big victory for Palestinian people, which will go hand in hand with the outcome of the other advisory opinion on the consequences of the legal consequences of the practices and the policies of the Israeli occupation. We should remember that that advisory opinion has made clear that Israel has no valid legal title whatsoever for the presence of its military and its civilians in the Palestinian territories. This will add another cause of collective concern because, to be honest, here is not only a matter of a war crime, but the infliction of conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of a substantial part of a victim group is also a genocidal conduct under the Genocide Convention. And the last thing I want to say on this matter is that to configure this crime, it is not necessary to arrive at the successful destruction of the group. The convention talks about conditions calculated to bring about this outcome, which means that the crime is committed when the chain of facts and of causal links which will bring about that result is put in motion. So we shouldn't wait to arrive at the total destruction of the Palestinian victim group to take action, because this would vilify the duties that all the signatories to the Genocide Convention have to prevent genocidal conduct. So one last point, it's commendable that 40 states have intervened in support of this advisory opinion claiming a breach must be found. But if even half of those states had imposed economic sanctions on Israel, we would be in a different and less dire place now in terms of survival of Palestinian civilians.
And that brings me to my next point, because as you say, all of this is commendable. Taking this action at the ICJ is commendable. And if this does result in a legal victory for the Palestinian people, it's doing nothing right now and possibly for the future to change the reality of people in Gaza, who some are literally being starved to death, which also brings into question for many, civilian people and analysts, experts, what is then the point of having this international rule of law if it cannot be enforced? Israel may be held accountable, but they don't actually have to do anything, and there's nothing that anyone can do about it.
You're absolutely right. This is extremely frustrating, and the world should be ashamed. Just to give you an example, the last testimony I have read from medical personnel of Doctors Without Borders, where they were talking not only about starvation, but about exhausting even the basic painkillers to operate civilians and children victims of bombardment. They were saying that children are imploring them to stop the operation to remove the burned tissues from their bodies. But if they don't, they risk bringing about the death of these kids. So we are talking about a societal torture. States are governed by executives which are elected politically. So while legal institutions are trying to do what they can, governments are converging toward the dismantlement of the rule of law, in particular Western governments still facilitating the commission of these international crimes. But not everything is lost. They can still impose sanctions, political, economic, diplomatic, which are not sanctions against the state of Israel per se and forever. They are sanctions against the unlawful conduct of this extremist government of Israel, which has made clear that pursues the annihilation of Palestine.
Thank you very much for giving us your analysis, Luigi Daniele there in London.